Boom, boom, boom. Just got your alert. Here we go. And here we are. All righty.
All right. And did you ask to?
Not yet. You
Okay.
kind of. Oh, it's real nice.
Bingo. Here we
Here we
go.
go.
Live here, live there, live everywhere. We're good to go.
I know.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
So
Let's
should I
see.
mute?
There's some feedback.
Exactly. Uh-oh. We'll work it out.
Yeah, if not, we'll just do Instagram Live.
Okay.
Because again, that's my first time doing it. I know others do it. Yeah, wait a minute.
I am super excited. Let's see.
Yeah, so let's do just the Instagram.
Okay. No problemo. So I'm gonna leave here. Boom, boom.
And I have to look up and ask other people about, I guess you could say, the feedback.
Right. We'll figure it out. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, most definitely. All right, everyone. This is
Cool.
Sharon here with Self Care for Black Men, and I am here with Reece from Reece Inspired, and we're going to
Right.
talk today about our gifts and about humility. So welcome, 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 everyone. And so, Reece, tell us a
Mhm.
little bit about yourself, kind of what you do, and then we'll kind of dig into this wonderful, wonderful subject.
Absolutely. So thank you for this opportunity. I really, really appreciate it. I don't know how we kind of bumped into each other. You know, it was set up for us to do so, but I really, really appreciate it. Your energy is always great. You're always welcoming. You always send out that positivity. So thank you. I appreciate this invite. As you introduced, my name is Reece. I'm a coach, speaker, author, educator. I'm an all around, big ball of positive energy, right? I love to help build people up, and my focus is always on the fundamentals, right? I really like to focus on the foundation, on the things beneath the hood that we need to have in order, right? My belief is that, you can build the building as tall as you want, but you have to have that strength and that foundation under you so that when the storms of life come, you can withstand it all. And that's what I focus on, and that's what I teach in my coaching program. And those are the things that I constantly speak about. So that's who I am in a
Yeah,
nutshell.
and one thing I like to say, I mean, you really do have a lot of positive energy. So that was one of the things that got my attention. I'll just say way back when I started following you on Instagram, because I was like, oh yeah, yeah. And then with a lot of the things that you talk about, I don't put out this, I don't know for sure, but I
Mhm.
sense that sometimes some of them they could be related to you as well. Because I know that
Always.
I definitely identify, with a lot of your posts. And actually, when it comes to gifts and humility, you did post about that a while ago, and that is something that I want to really dig deep because I even see within myself. It's like
Mhm.
even though I have accomplishments and achievements in my life, but I
Mhm.
just say I guess it's just something about, and I've heard people talk about it when you're out there, I said out there doing something on your own, something about this entrepreneurship, it's almost like it is, I call them soft and hard stops. It's kind of like you go out there, and then I'm like, well, was my post good? It wasn't good. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. No,
And
I
I've
get
never
it.
been that type of person,
I got
And
you.
so it's almost like how can we still show up? It's like we know we have gifts, but then
Hmm.
sometimes for some people too, sometimes they may not, because also in our society it talks about being humble.
Hmm. I'm with you.
So let's kind
So,
of just talk about, I guess you could say, like the definition of gift and then the definition of being humble.
right. So, couple things. One thing that you said that stood out, and I'm glad you caught it. Anything I speak about, anything I post, I'm always patient X, right? So, what I share out loud, what I coach people on, what I teach, what I write about is I'm allowing the world to listen in on the things that I'm working on and I'm building in myself. So when I'm sharing something, trust me, I've experienced it. I'm living it. I might be going through it right now, or I might have just stepped over it yesterday. And my mindset has always been, okay, I can't be the only one going through this. And because
Hmm.
I'm a very curious person. And so when something is tugging at me, when something is troubling me, I go look for the answers. And when I find them, I share them. I tap into it. So I'm always patient X. So I'm always talking about something I'm either going through and I'm working through it, or I've experienced and I'm on the other side and now I'm excited about pulling some folks along. Um, Now, to the point that about you talking about gifts and humility and some of the challenges that we face with even accepting and acknowledging our gifts. Now, you talked about definition. So I'm going to give what the dictionary says about gift, but what you found about humility is amazing. And I think that would be better served to share that. So when it comes to gift, it's simply a thing given willingly to someone without payment, a present, a natural ability or talent. And in the definition, it really, I don't want to say defines, but it really answers even your question, right? Because things that we receive for free, see, people have issues with free. People take free for granted. People often disrespect free. If you're giving something away for free, people will be like, but if you throw a price on it, it's like, oh, wait a minute. It piques their interest. It to them, it seems to have more value. And that's what happens with us. The things that come easy to us, like you talked about, those gifts, those talents, those things that we inherently have within us that we do, that others may even see and be in awe of. For us, it's just me, it's just him. But I can see your gifts, or I can see yours crystal
Yeah,
clear, and you can see mine.
exactly.
But when it comes to when I hold that mirror up, it's like, and we devalue and even disrespect and abuse our gifts because we aren't taught that it's okay. And that's what spills into even the second part, the humility. So I want you to
Yeah,
get that humility definition so we can really pick this apart, because I'm excited, as you can see. And you
exactly,
gotta shut
exactly.
me up because I'll just go.
Oh, no, 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 that's okay. Now, what I want to do, I am going to read mine, but I want you to read what you have put out there, yours first, because I
Okay,
think it's yours first. That's how society responds
bingo.
majority of the time. So I think that is
Absolutely.
important. That's important too.
Bingo. So the dictionary definition, the normal, the Webster's definition says a modest or low view of one's own importance, humbleness. That's the Webster's definition of humility. Modest or low view of one's own importance, humbleness.
Exactly. And just to kind of, I guess you say, give some examples, the things that come to my mind, and I am horrible at this, accepting compliments.
Wow.
Somebody can say, I can't tell you where it came from
Hmm.
or whatsoever, but somebody, and I do like kudos at work. I do like that.
Okay.
But at the same time, if somebody was to say, "Oh, Sharon, that's a nice dress that you have on," "Oh, this old thing," blah 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 blah
Hmm.
blah blah blah. I don't like wear makeup. I have some lip gloss on now, but let's just say if I was to have some
Right.
makeup, and someone like, "Oh, you look," they may not say beautiful, but good or
I
something
got
like
you.
that. And I was like, "Oh, really?" Something. But in that definition, we really, I've come to realize I have made myself invisible.
So, all right. So you're sending me back to what I do all day, right? And so the examples you gave are examples I literally use when I teach about self-esteem and self-image. Literally, struggling to take a compliment, Like
Mm-hmm.
not being comfortable with just saying thank you. Like compliments sometimes make certain people feel uneasy. And like you said, going into explanations and all of this stuff instead of just,
Exactly.
because beneath that somewhere, and this is my mindset, and wherever we go, we'll go. But my mindset is this, right? And I've discovered this through life kicking my butt enough and
Mm-hmm.
through plenty of studying and learning that beneath all of our issues, concerns, challenges, whatever we want to name them, is a feeling of either I'm not capable or I'm not worthy. And so somewhere, if we peel back the layers, that's what we're
Mm-hmm.
going to come up with. So that, right, what you just said, there's a sense of I'm not worthy. There's a
Mm-hmm.
sense of worthiness under there. And then so that's under there somewhere. And that's exactly, those are the things that, like that's my work right there. So
Mm-hmm.
you're like speaking my language, like
Yeah,
in
yeah,
such a
yeah.
huge way.
Yeah.
Um,
And again, because of the accomplishment, I mean, I can go out and do things, but something about, let's say with this platform that I'm doing now,
right,
that's when I started noticing that I'll pull back sometimes, and then there's soft and hard stops. I'm like, what's going on?
right.
I know how to achieve things. I know what's going on, but also just in working with people and just with family and
Hmm.
friends. And again, I can see it in other people as well. I'm like, what
Right,
are you talking about? You're really good at what you do. But I think
right.
a lot of us do that because at the same time, I think our society had kind of taught us that you do not boast about yourself. You know
Exactly.
what I'm saying? And if there's a
Yeah,
difference in being, egotistical and all
of
of that
course.
stuff. There's a difference. I think most of us know what that is.
Right.
But at the same time, each time that we do not acknowledge our wins or the things that we're good at, we are really telling ourselves. I mean, going back to what you're saying, even though it may be on a subconscious level, we're really telling ourselves we're not worthy.
That's exactly what it is. And what we're doing is there's a there's there's score is being kept, right? In your mind, you're keeping score, not consciously, and you can't control it. You're keeping score. So every time you do that, you're scoring against yourself. And what happens is we have self-esteem, right? Is defined. One of the definitions is the reputation we acquire with ourselves based on our decisions and how we interact with the world. So what we're doing is we are damaging our reputation with ourselves. So the same way, if I don't show up the way you need me to show up, if I don't do the thing I need to do, and now you're like, well, Maurice isn't dependable and da 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 da. The same thing happens in the mirror. You look in the mirror and I don't see a guy who's dependable. I don't see a guy who keeps his word. I don't see a guy, and that reputation with myself gets damaged, and it impacts everything. It impacts how we show up in the world. It impacts someone paying me a compliment. Why would you compliment me when I don't do what I need? You know what I mean? I don't keep my word to myself. I don't do what I need to do. So
Hmm.
that's a big, big, big challenge for us, right? And another part of the problem, like you talked about, is when we're trying to figure it out, when we get a scent of what our gift is, and we're trying to figure it out, we're going to trip and fall, we're going to break stuff, we're going to try to navigate through that, and a lot of times we get excited, right? And then those around us, they don't fan our flame for the most part. I was told for years that I was arrogant and I was this and I was that, and I knew that wasn't me, and it
Mm.
confused me. And you talk about a hard stop, it
Yeah,
caged me.
yeah,
It
yeah.
caged me for years, and
Wow.
it,
Yeah.
it, it took really life kicking my butt and really God pulling me aside and sitting me down and really, really, causing me to like really like pull the curtain back and see some things and examine myself, to start to see like, wow, wait a minute, that wasn't actually arrogance, that was excitement, that was confidence, because
Exactly.
my motives were always pure. So that's one thing I always know to do, is to check my motives. And that was one of the things that first came to my mind when you talk about gifts and humility, is understanding motives, right?
Hmm.
Because when your motives are pure, it's okay. It's
Exactly.
okay. So
Yeah.
that I get it. When
Yeah.
I say I get it, I totally get it. Totally, totally
Exactly.
get it.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and read the definition that I was able to get for humility. And this came from the Urban Dictionary. And it
Hmm.
states, true humility is to recognize your value and others' value while looking up. It is to see there is far greater than ourselves into who we can become, who others can become, and how much more we can do and be. To be humble is to serve others and be for their good as well as our own. To be humble is to have a realistic appreciation of your great strengths, but also of your weaknesses.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. I love it. And there's a lot in there, right? And obviously, time won't allow us to really break down every piece of it. But really, what I hear is, seeing what you see, right? For so long, we allow life to put blinders on us, and then the conditioning process of life, the no's, the talking down, the lack of support, the lack of this, us not keeping our word to ourselves, us not being committed, us not really being comfortable with building ourselves up, has created a situation where we can't see, and we don't want to see, and then when we do see, we become uncomfortable. I was there for a long time. I saw it. I would feel it. I would have an interaction, and the person would be inspired and ready to go. And I'm like, ooh. And it made me, and then like I knew I was doing what I was called to do, but it was like, wait a minute. And I didn't quite own that was my purpose. And because
Mm-hmm.
I tried not to see. So it's like I was trying to put the blinders on. And
Mm-hmm.
so that definition says see. Allow yourself to see what's there. See you and see others. Learn to appreciate. Keep your motives pure,
Mm-hmm.
but allow yourself, if it's there, see it and accept it and own it and build on it. That's
Mm-hmm.
the core message of
Mm-hmm.
that I received. That's
Yeah,
the see it. See it. See you. Allow yourself to see yourself and see
exactly.
others as well.
Exactly. And just by you saying that too, I think that is kind of like how society is kind of set up too, because even out there, it starts in the family, but also, especially once we go to school, it's like if you're an only child, it may not be as much. So I'm not an only child, so I don't know anything about that. But I do have a brother. But I think it kind of comes from, let's just say if you have siblings, and then they say share. And so when you start sharing, even though we know the ideal behind it, but when you think about it, they always ask the oldest sibling to share. They never ask the younger ones to share with the oldest. And so therefore you don't get that feedback. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? It's not reciprocal. So you're always giving and you're not receiving. So that's away from yourself. So nothing is coming your way anymore. And then, of course, when we go to school, and then they're really talking about sharing. Oh, you need to share. But what if I
mhm.
don't want to share right now? You make if you really watch children,
Right.
children really eventually, like play with each other and share. They just don't want to do it right then.
Mm,
So we're forcing them to be able to do that. And then, of course, when it comes to society, oh, we don't want nobody to feel bad. So
mhm.
everybody gets in their feelings. So go ahead and share or give. And even though, but I may not feel like you're deserving, of my share, especially if it's something
Right.
that belongs to me, because if it's on you, that's something you need to deal with, to be
Mhm.
honest and whatsoever, because again, when it comes to self-care, I need to make sure that my cup is full.
Right.
Because if I'm sharing, I may not have enough for you. So again, it kind of comes, I think it kind of really comes into that. And so I guess you could say when it comes to that feedback, we're not in a receiving feedback. So when someone gives it to us, we don't even, I think that's part of the reason why we reject it. Because we're told to give, 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 give. But it's
Right.
kind of like, oh, with this whole thing and this, that, and the other. And the other thing I want to kind of bring up is, are you familiar with Dr. Joy DeGruy? She's the author of oh, please let me get the name right. Oh, I forget the name of the book and I should know it. Oh,
It's
I
okay.
forgot.
It's okay. What's
Yeah, I know, no. What is it? Is it I'm getting the name confused, but it's
Don't
like
worry about it.
Black Slave Syndrome, something to that effect. But she's really, really good. She's a she's a social worker, has a master's and PhD, and she does a lot of studies. And I saw one of her videos, and watching one of her videos, it kind of reminded me, that's when I was able to kind of identify, oh my gosh, I've been making myself small. But one of the things that she said is kind of like culturally, like say, because there was slavery, then things that happened after slavery, and like when it was slavery, during those times, if a mother, as to say, had a son, and the white person would say, oh, well, I see Joe, he's really getting real big, and then the mother was like, oh no, he's not big and strong, he's really weak, and that was for the safety. But culturally, that has continued, and then she used an example of moving forward. There's a white mother and a black mother, and they both have sons in the exact same grade. The white mother started talking about her son, and it's like, oh yeah, my son is into this and he's doing that, just praising him. And then she remembers, oh yeah, your son is just as good. But then the black mother is like, oh no, Joe, he's just getting on my nerves. He's not good at anything. And then so if she's continued to do that, and just like George said, no, that is not good for Joe to be, to have that, because this is kind of what we have. But culturally, that's where, when I heard her say that, I'm like, oh my gosh, because I can remember when I got, it wasn't my first job, but it was a job in, social work. I'm a licensed clinical social work. And then I just say, like one of my cousins, I worked down the country, and one of my cousins, I was hanging out with them. And, back then you get a government job, it's kind of like you made it. But I'm a type person, again, I'm modest, I'm no different than you, which is true. But at the same time, I can kind of see, like over time, if you keep telling yourself that, but I'm not owning up to the achievement that I have and what I do. You see what I'm saying? And so culturally, even though, other cultures experience this as well when it comes to gifts and humanity, but definitely when it comes to, blacks, a lot of ours, I do believe, kind of come from that. It's kind of like, oh, no, you're not, yeah, Joe is not doing a good job. And so Joe keeps hearing that. So Joe don't think, even though he's doing wonderful, but he doesn't think, and gets passed down from generation to generation. And no one doesn't even know it, because what you were saying before of the repetitiveness and things like that. But yeah, I just wanted to add that in, because I think it's important for us to kind of have an understanding of where a lot of things come from, you know.
And I think that and you hit a lot of points, so obviously I can't kind of touch all of them, but just to that last point about we'll use conditioning, right? We are conditioned, and then when we reach a point of maturity, we have to seek personal responsibility, right? And so we have to get to a point where what had happened was, I can't let that keep robbing me of my today and my tomorrow. So, again, I'm patient X, right? I have a story that's pretty ugly to, both my parents were strung out on drugs growing up. I'm from the middle of North Philly. I don't look like what I've been through, right? My mom lost a battle to crack. She's no longer with us. She went on home. My dad right now, right this second, is in the hospital, drug overdose, massive stroke. He's on his back. And I'm talking about all my life, these were my struggles. I was predisposed to a lot of different things. I grew up in the hood, where it's dark at. As a light-skinned little boy, right, I had more fights than any other person I've ever met. So then life took me through a lot of twists and turns, right? And while all that is true, I had to reach a point where I took responsibility for me. And it took life kicking my butt and God pulling me aside and opening and pulling back the curtain. But what I've learned is that yes, all of those things are very, very true, but I get to choose what's next. I get to define who I am and who I want to become and where I want to go. And so while I'm big on truth and I'm big on how we got here, because learning those things and having an understanding is great. But the problem that I see with people, and this is what I help people work through, is we get that information and we use it as a crutch instead
Oh,
of
yeah,
using it to push forward. And that
exactly.
gets under my skin.
I
So
know.
I want to highlight, yes, true, 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 true. Those things were ingrained in us, right? I never saw, I don't even want to go into that, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
here's
yeah.
the thing. All of those things are true, right? And I still get to choose for myself, right? When I reach the age of maturity, I have to take responsibility for me and my life. I can't keep using the excuse. I can't keep using the grew up in poverty excuse. I can't keep using this excuse. I can't keep using that excuse, or it's going to keep me in bondage. So where, I can move how I want to move now, right? I can't keep
Exactly.
using the fact that my mom didn't, my dad didn't, and we have people who will pat us on the back when we pull those out. And I often don't share a lot about my story because I don't want to pat on the back. I
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
want to put it. I want to push. I want to be encouraged. I want somebody to say, "Come on, let's get it." Not, "Oh man, I understand." And we're so understanding that we're not pushing, we're not motivating, we're not encouraging, we're not telling people to, "Sharon, you are gifted, you are amazing. The world needs what you have. We need you to pull it out. I need you. I look forward to the things that you put out into the atmosphere." We're not doing that enough to really to break up what's in there. It's like I always give the example of, it's like a jar full of dirt, right? I got this from my
Mm-hmm.
mentor. And as you pour in the clean water, it doesn't automatically just become clean or drinkable.
Yeah.
You got to keep pouring and pouring and pouring. And a lot of times what we do, we'll get a little clean water in there and then we'll discover something. We'll learn those things about, oh, that's why I'm like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm like that. No, that's why I'm like that. So now what? How do I push forward? What do I need to do? What research do I need to do? What books do I need to read? I read the book to figure out why I'm here. But now what book is going to move me toward becoming the best version of myself? There's a
Exactly.
greater version of me on the inside that needs to be released. So I know why I'm tied up now. So what do I need to do to exhale, to break out of this? And it pains me when I see people sitting on their hands, not tapping into their gifts, right? I work with people, and I see a lot of people on here with letters and different things behind their names, which is awesome, right? And as you as well. Those of us that are in the people business, you know this to be true. I'd rather have to pull you in than have to wind you up and get you going, right?
Yeah.
So even when it comes to humility, I'd rather have to tell you, whoa, 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 big guy, bring it on in a little bit. Right? Remember
Mm-hmm.
this. Remember, I'd rather have to bring you back than to wind you up. And so many of us, we sit on our behind and sit on our hands on the excuse of what our parents went through or didn't do, and what the people that came before us, what they went through. And it's like, they went through that. Yes, it's very, very true. But now what? What are you going to do? What are you going to do with what you've been gifted with? Right? What are you going to do to stretch and grow? Now we disrespect those people who came before us, right? It's disrespectful for me not to show up, because the man that poured into me for almost 20 years, if I don't show up the way that I need to show up, I'm disrespecting him and his legacy. I'm a
Exactly.
product of him. And so
Mm-hmm.
we have to look at it like that. I'm a product of so-and-so. I gotta move the ball down the field a little further. So, and we sit on those gifts because of, yes, that's true. But what's also true is there's more, there's a monster in you that's ready to come out and crush it. Let him loose.
Exactly.
Let him
Exactly.
loose.
Exactly. And for a lot of different reasons, you're right. A lot of people get stuck. And one of the things that I tell people is that, and I'm like you, there's a lot of people out there that talk about, generational curses and
Uh-huh.
trauma. But I'm like, what about the generational treasures? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
We have treasures.
Exactly.
We're born with gifts. So what are we going to do with that? Because at the end of the day, you have what you need. Everything is inside of you.
Exactly.
It's almost like people, like I hear people, and not just professionally,
Absolutely.
and whatsoever, you know, family, friends, and everything else. But when I hear people talk, they can say, you know, all the reasons of what, kind of like what you were saying, what happened to them or why
Right.
something didn't work out. And I'm listening to them and I see all their strengths, how they were
Right.
able to maneuver where they
Exactly.
are now.
Exactly.
And I point those things out. But again, kind of going back to, you know, being humble. Oh, no, well, you know, that was just because of, you know, they don't give themselves
Yeah.
credit. And it's
And
like, you
that's
got to celebrate your wins. You have to.
absolutely. And so we confuse humility, right? So we think that we're being humble, right? By not acknowledging our gifts, not celebrating our wins. And that's what we think. And it makes perfect sense because I lived there for a long time. I hid in the back because out of, you know, just, no, I'm just going to wait my turn. And I'm just going to, but what I've discovered was it was a lack of self-respect.
Hmm.
And what self-respect is the feeling of worthiness, that my thoughts, feelings, my insights, my place in the world matters, right? That what I have to say means something, right? I'm worthy of being happy. I'm worthy of speaking my mind. I'm worthy of taking up some space. And so what I thought was humility was actually a lack of self-respect. And the lines cross. You know, the lines definitely cross. And a lot of times humility is, I mean, that's such a beautiful thing to lean on. I'm just being humble. I'm just waiting my turn. No, 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 no. Let that monster loose. Come on. Respect
Exactly.
yourself enough to let that monster loose. You know, you're worthy of spreading your wings. You know, sometimes you got to show up and make something happen. And that's not arrogance. That's not conceit. That is, you are a gifted, you're a vessel. There are some things inside of you that only you can bring forth. And you're doing the world a disservice by not doing it. And it's not humility, it's lack of self-respect. You
Yeah,
don't think you're worthy. You don't think you're worth putting your best foot forward, so you hide behind humility. And I
exactly.
can say it boldly because I did it for
Hmm.
years and it
Yeah.
worked because I was a leader in the church. So I'm just in the cut and, oh, he's so sweet and humble. He let everybody do his thing. But I had something to say that was
Hmm.
life changing. And I sat on it. And what changed for me was I started to look at who I was supposed to serve and the fact that their blood would be on my hands if I didn't start doing allowing to come out what was in me, doing what I was called to do, and standing and walking in my purpose. When I made it about them, it helped me to understand that, okay, I can still move forward. And then when I learned about what self-esteem was, what self-respect and self-efficacy was, and I understood that, wait a minute, I don't think I'm worthy. Beneath all of that, I don't think I'm worthy. And so it's causing me to not move and to not speak and to not stand up and to not and to not
Hmm.
and to not and to not. But now it's like, whoa, wait a minute. No, 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 no. I have a place here. I am worthy. And so we
Exactly.
confuse that humility with lack of self-respect. And it's easy to confuse because humility is an easy out. It's easy to say, no,
Yeah.
I'm just chilling, you know, waiting my turn, being humble. And people will honor and respect that. But no, 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 no. We got to stop letting ourselves off the hook and letting the people that we love and that we see the gifts inside, especially those of us that do people work. I challenge people. No, 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 wait a minute. No. And then I break down what self-respect is and what that looks like and that sense of worthiness. And they're like, wow, you know what? You're right. I didn't speak up because I was just being so humble. I didn't speak up because I was saying, who am I to speak up? And
Hmm.
that's not humility. That's a whole different ball game. And that needs to be addressed more because I lived it for years and I felt like a caged animal.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and also to your point in that I've seen people, let's say for instance, they're in a job, they get promoted to a job that requires a degree. They don't have the degree, but they got promoted to it. One, they do have coworkers. I was like, oh, well, I don't know how they got that job. And because of this being humble, you know, they really almost feel like they don't deserve it. And I am going to say this. it seems like that happens more so among blacks than any, when I say any other race, I just say among black and brown as compared to others. Because I've seen it, when it comes to white, where they can have a degree, not have a degree and get hired, sometimes did not need to get hired for the job that they did and don't even have, the experience, the knowledge and get hired. But the person, who did get hired, and it's almost like they feel like they're not worthy, like when it comes to a black
So,
person, who's getting in that, it's kind of like, no, you got that job because management saw something in you.
so
You,
no, great point. Great point. So to that point, again, I like, again, I deal with what's under the hood. So people will use humility. That's what people use. Humility has become like a scapegoat, right? To not own our stuff. What's really happening in that instance is my self-image, who I see when I look in the mirror, doesn't match up to the position that life thrusted me into. We see this happen all the time. We'll see someone in a certain position, they have a certain affluence, a certain amount of money, a certain job, and they have these behaviors that don't match up, and you're like, man, if I was in that, well, what happened was they look in the mirror, they see themselves as a 6. Life thrusted them to a 10, and they didn't mentally become a 10, right? They didn't change their perception of themselves to a 10. So what they did was they got in 10 position, making 6 decisions with a 6 perspective. And what happened? They found a way to get on back down to a 6. We see it happen all the time. That's why I talk so much about self-image, about improving that relationship with the person that you see in the mirror, right? Before I could turn the corner and really start to become the person that I was called to become, I had to first look in the mirror and see myself worthy. I had to see myself as able and as capable. Now, I used to look in the mirror and just be like, nah, because I look in the mirror and I saw all my mistakes. I saw all the things I didn't do. I saw all my shortcomings. I saw that I didn't have all the letters behind. I saw all of that. But now I done cleaned the mirror a bit. And now I'm starting to see my potential. I'm starting to see my purpose and my calling and who I am. And so I'm more comfortable stepping into it and walking into it. So if I get promoted and put into a position, hey, that's God's favor. I need to show up and just walk in it and be the best version of me. But if I don't believe I'm worthy of the position, I'll say, well, I'll use humility as my out, as my scapegoat. No, it's not humility. I need to improve my self-image. I have a negative image of myself, which is keeping me from owning and excelling and being and walking in the position that life thrusted me into. So humility has become a scapegoat. I'm so glad you brought this up, because humility, we use humility, we hide behind it. It's a cool thing to hide behind. Just being, no, I understand. No. You don't believe you're worthy. Let's just get real. And this was me forever, and I'm still working through some things, right? Where you don't believe you're worthy. So that young lady, that person, whomever it is, and skin color, background, I'm just talking about human behavior. I'm talking about what's under the hood. And yes, there are cultural influences. Yes, that stuff is real. But beneath it all, if I see myself as worthy and deserving, then there's nothing you or this person or that person can do or say otherwise. But if I don't see myself as worthy, right, I hide behind humility, or the moment you throw a dart, it just crumbles me, because I knew I wasn't built for this, right? I knew I wasn't built for that. I knew. So it's about how I see me that determins everything. The rest of that stuff is extra.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you were able to identify, that there was a period in your life, and that you're still working on that piece.
Absolutely.
Because, with my work with men, and also, I guess you could say, what I'm inspired to do, it's like not just to not just to motivate them and inspire them and things like that, but also to remind them you are the gift. What you have, what you bring to the table, like every experience that you have, it keeps adding on and opening doors for you. And, it's kind of like, again, look at yourself, have the reflection on, and then you can really see that. But I think that sometimes some people kind of get stuck in looking at, even though, like, I mean, just use this pandemic as an example, you
Mm-hmm.
know, everybody's in different situations and things like that. And I know if someone doesn't have a job, you know, they're going to worry about putting food on the table and a roof over the head and things like that. However, I really do feel like at the same time, we all have lessons and teachings that is
Mm-hmm.
just for us, that is personalized for us.
Absolutely.
And it's personalized for us. And it's kind of like what this is. Can you have a shift of thinking about something in a different way? It could be that, let's say, if you were let go at a job, it could be that you were probably already thinking you didn't want that job in the first place. So what can you do different? What
Right.
were some things that you were probably sitting on that you can explore and even do more? Because everything is it's almost like with life, it's like everything is really there. People think that it's I guess you could say people think that it's not good for us,
Mm-hmm.
but really I think it's there to kind of unearth the wounds and unresolved issues and unfinished business. Is to dig them up so that we can get to the gem, to the gifts and
I love
everything
that.
else. Because in order to get there, like you said, you know, that's all we're going to see, and we're going to end up being humble. And a
Right.
lot of times people don't even see their own gifts. Because, like, I see it as like, well, you're doing really good and you have this. I see how you're able to maneuver. I see how you're able to do this and that. But sometimes it's like some people
Here,
just don't see it within themselves.
here's you hit on a lot of great things, right? What the biggest point you're talking about is it all comes down to, I'll say it like this. It is whatever I say it is, right? It comes down to perspective, right? And so here's the thing I teach people all the time, and I live by it. Nothing has meaning until I assign it meaning. So, using your example, the job ends, right? I get to decide, is this the end of a thing or is this the beginning of a thing? And
Exactly.
and the lens I choose to view it through determines everything. It determines the questions I ask myself. It determines, the things I focus on. It determines the decisions that I make. It determines how I communicate to myself, which is obviously the first and foremost, how I communicate to my loved ones, what's going on, what's next, what I'm going after, all because I get to define that. Yes, the things that it showed up, right? And maybe it showed up with bad intentions, but I get to define it. And when we understand that we have that power, there's absolutely, no matter what you do to me, I get to define what it is. And as a curious person, as a person who wants to learn, as a person who is determined to grow and transform and become the best version of me, if you walk up on me and punch me in the mouth, right? My thought is, okay, how did I miss that? What was the blind spot? What do I need to do to get better, to get stronger? Okay, while I'm tasting that blood and cleaning myself up, I'm figuring out how I'm going to use this situation that it was intended to be negative and turn it on its head and become a positive. But that's the new mindset that I've adopted, learning and understanding more about myself. My image of myself is a learner, is a person who's addicted to growth and who wants to become greater. Once upon a time, when I was hiding behind humility, it was woe is me. It was blah, blah, blah. It was this. So everything, we get to define everything, right? Whatever information comes in, I get to decide what it means, right? No matter what shows up. And when I embrace that power, again, so what, the job ended. Is it the end of a thing, which is what most people look at, or is it the beginning of a thing? Now,
Hmm.
like you said, I had some ideas and some things that I've been sitting on. Now, perhaps now I'm free to attack these things. You know what I'm saying? So, and again, it's all about mindset. And so that's why I tell people, no, it is whatever I say it is. I know what you
Exactly.
see. I know what it says. I know what the news is saying and what popular people, but it is whatever I say it is. I get to determine what it is. And I don't have to adhere to the usual and customary response to a situation. Just because it seems like you think I should be sad, I don't have to be sad.
Exactly.
I don't have to do it that way because I understand, who I am, right? Where I'm headed, and therefore I have to make decisions and guide my focus accordingly. So I don't have time for the pity party. I don't have time to hide behind this and that. I don't have time for the sadness. I have to shrink it, right? I understand that. And that's the thing I want to leave with people, right? This is what will happen. We'll have that instance, and you talk about you losing the job. That's the example you gave. That'll happen. Time will pass, and then we'll look back like, man, if I hadn't lost the job, this wouldn't have happened, this wouldn't have happened, this wouldn't have happened. This, oh, so that worked in my favor. But there's that
Exactly.
gap. There's that gap where people struggle. What I've learned to do is eliminate that. The moment that the thing happens, it's like, okay, what did this show up to teach me? What's the lesson in this? I get my pen and pad out because I need to know what lessons this showed up to teach me. I don't need that gap. I'm ready now. I don't need time to mourn. I don't need time to sulk in it. No, I need to exhale because I don't want to miss these lessons, because what I understand about life is if I miss the lesson now, I got to go through it again. And I don't want to keep circling that mountain to go through the same thing. I want to learn what I need to learn so that I can move forward. Like I have somewhere to be. You know, I'm on a mission and I can't hide behind, oh, just being humble. No, humility is a scapegoat and we have to throw that out. We get to decide what things mean to us. We get to decide how we're going to operate, how we're going to function in the world, not what's usual and customary.
Exactly. I cannot agree even more. Because like you said, a lot of times that's what people end up using it as a scapegoat. And what
Exactly.
I've seen is that a lot of times it makes people invisible. They make themselves invisible and they
Mm-hmm.
feel like they're not worthy. And so, you know, when they really do have gifts, they're not even able to receive it. It's like they can't even see it because
Exactly.
you were talking again about the repetitiveness. And one thing that I like to tell people is kind of like repetitive experiences, thoughts, and behaviors reshapes the brain. And what reshapes the brain, you know, creates patterns. And that's
Absolutely.
how we end up getting our habits. And then it also impacts our body. And so when it impacts our body, it impacts our, you know, immune system. Well, it
Mm-hmm.
impacts our nervous system. What impacts
Right.
our nervous system impacts our immune system. And so that's positive or negative as well. And so in saying that, our mood, you know, it changes our mood. So if we think we're not worthy of something, or you know, that's not going to put us in a happy mood. You know
Exactly.
what I'm saying? We may say that we're happy, but it really doesn't. So that's going to even impact how you show up in the world,
Of
you know, and
course.
what you do. And so even though some people they may want to achieve something, but you're not going to be able to continue to do until you really excel, as you like to say, the person in the mirror who you're looking at is like, oh yeah, I did that thing. And then
Mm-hmm.
it's something like a lot of times people like to look at, you know, say things are failure or mistakes. You know, I don't like those type of words because again, they have such a negative connotation. It's more of like, no, those are just things that it just didn't work out. Because
Right.
sometimes in some circumstances, that same decision or that same action, sometimes it could have put you forward. It just didn't work out this time. So that's where the lesson is, you know,
Mm-hmm.
when it
And
comes to that. It's just
exactly.
many opportunities.
And even to go again, to go even a little deeper, again, I get to define what things mean. And so, like you talked about, when the thing happens, right? I get to define what it means. So you talked about failure. You talked about, you know, coming up short. Did I really fail? Did I come up short? What did I learn?
Exactly.
I need to pull all of the lessons from that and then apply it to what's next. And then when I step up to the plate the next time, I have that experience in my bag to learn from. So I'm better prepared. I'm stronger. You know, one of the blind spots now that's covered because I figured that out, and now I'm better equipped to go forward. So one of the biggest things is changing our relationship with information, right? Changing our relationship with what things mean. We assume however something is experienced in our culture, in our homes, and in our neighborhood, whatever, then we just take that on, right? And I tell people all the time, whoa, no. You don't have to take that on. You really don't have to. I don't have to move the way that you move. I don't have to see it the way that you see it. I get to define what things mean, and it empowers me because no matter what shows up, my mindset is life is happening for me, not to me. So
Exactly.
when the situation happens, immediately I'm going into, okay, what's the benefit here? What am I to learn from this? Where was I slipping? What's this? What's that? How is this going to make me better? How is this going to help me improve on my mission to becoming the best version of myself? But that's that mindset shift. And again, you talked about the same thing. Beneath everything is either a feeling of I'm not capable or I'm not worthy. And a lot of us struggle with that I'm not worthy. And it shows itself in so many different ways. And that, I'm telling you, that hiding behind humility, using that as an excuse or a scapegoat, not to excel, not to put your best foot forward, not to show up as the best version of you because you're being humble. No, you're not. You don't feel like you're worthy of putting yourself out there. You don't feel like you're worthy of taking up or occupying that space that your heart is tugging at you to go ahead and occupy. So it's like when we shift our mindset, when we do the work under the hood, then it'll take care of everything else. So it's like when we kill the thing, the symptoms will go away, and we'll view everything differently. I think it's like we have this mindset of like we go in search of an excuse, right? We go looking for an excuse not to. It's like, oh, that's what it is. My mom didn't do this, and there it is. Oh, my dad wasn't there, or this was this, or I grew up in poverty, or this was this, or this was this, or this. We go searching for disadvantages so we can prop our feet up on them. No, those disadvantages are actually what make me special. Those are they are what equip me to do the work that I do. But again, it's a shift in that mindset. And it's as simple as it sounds, it really is. You just have to have the courage to look within and start pulling those things apart and really make the connection to just press forward and focus on what's next and the growth and the stretching. So that's my life work right there. Helping people go under the hood and work on that foundation, because if we get all the junk out the way, there's I'm not worthy or I'm not capable. Yeah. That's what's under there. I mean, that's it. That's what's under there.
So when it comes to people gifts, how can people identify what their gifts are?
I would argue with anyone that we already know, right? We already know. A lot of times the people that we're drawn to and attracted to is because something inside of us is connecting with them, but they're walking in their gift, right? They're comfortable with owning their gift. Their gift has become a part of their identity, but with us, ours is still kind of tucked away, right? And so when we want to take a step forward, right, we don't have the courage. We don't feel like we're worthy of walking into it. So anyone, once you reach the age of maturity, right, whatever that might be, I don't want to make up a number, but once you reach